Welcome to this episode of Showcase Wedding. I'm your host, Rebecca Martel. In this episode, I'm going to introduce you to business owners in all areas of the wedding industry that want to create your dream wedding. I now get to introduce you to Roberta. She's the wedding and event manager at the Ocean Stone Seaside Resort. Thank you very much for being here in studio.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So please describe to us your resort.
So Ocean Stone is a boutique property located right on the Atlantic Ocean. We are just 5 minutes away from the iconic Peggy's Cove. Almost everyone is familiar with Peggy's Cove. We are a mix of cottages and suites, as well as meeting space. We are a popular place, well loved for people to travel on vacation, to book corporate retreats, and of course weddings. They are our specialty.
Well, of course, with that background and the view, tell me what type of people come out and have weddings out at your resort.
So we have weddings of all shapes and sizes, from elopements with 2 people to big giant weddings with 150 guests. That's pretty much our maximum, although sometimes we can do a little bit larger if we specially coordinate a few different things.
So your resort actually has everything there. People can have the ceremony to the dinner to stay an entire weekend. Tell me about that.
Yes, so we try to book our weddings where the couple has exclusive use over the property. So from the point when they arrive on a Friday till they check out on the Sunday, the resort is only their guests and their family and friends. So
that's very intimate. That's very VIP.
Very VIP. It's like having a private village just of your family and friends. And we invite guests to make themselves comfortable, to treat their property like they would their home. So we like when people are playing games outside, barbecuing on the decks. Some brave souls even go swimming in that cold Atlantic Ocean.
But you have bonfires and pits set up so they can bring the blanket out and sit there afterwards.
Yes. Really non-traditional. It's not your traditional 6-hour wedding. It's a full wedding weekend, giving guests time to meet one another, relax, enjoy each other's company, and really celebrate their love and the marriage of the couple who are getting married.
And that's going to be a lot more memories, everybody together and enjoying a weekend.
Yes.
So you've had people that come from afar, make it a destination wedding. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So lots of couples who have a connection to Nova Scotia. Either they grew up here, they have fond memories of a family trip, family and friends who live in the area, but the couple themselves live elsewhere. They will book their wedding at Ocean Stone, and friends and family will travel in from all over, stay at the resort for 2 nights or more, and then leave afterwards. It's definitely a destination.
So you actually have couples come from far away. What's one of the furthest destinations you've had?
Last summer, we actually had a couple planning their wedding all the way from Singapore.
That would be quite a difference for them.
Yes, definitely a different location.
What was the feedback that they gave you?
They absolutely loved the property and had a beautiful wedding weekend, but what they said really made the biggest difference for them was all of the support during the planning phases, helping to find vendors, organizing things from afar. Seeing as that they were in Singapore, we actually did everything by email because of the time difference, and they said our support and constant reassurances the whole way through made just the whole planning process a lot easier and smoother for them.
For them and for everybody. So tell me about that. Your title makes it very smooth for the day. What is included? What can people expect at the resort?
So I work very closely with all of our couples from the moment that they come for their first site tour to the time of choosing Ocean Stone as their venue, right up until their wedding day. So I work and help them plan and organize not only the ceremony and the wedding dinner itself, but any activities that they want to host for their guests in and around. So a rehearsal barbecue or a brunch the next day. Some couples like to lead hikes the morning of their wedding, or even do yoga out on the beach as a way for everyone to kind of gather and relax ahead of time. So I work with them to kind of go through the different logistics and the planning involved. And then I'm actually there the entire weekend to make sure that the coordination and the follow through is there. and that the bride and groom don't have to worry about anything.
So no one else has to work. You're the one that's put in charge of putting everything together, putting everything out. No sister or brother gets stuck doing that job.
No, our team is there for you. So I work closely with a great team of staff at Ocean Stone, and we handle everything from loading in the decor to setting it up to tearing it down and packing everything up for them. We want not only the bride and groom to feel like guests at their own wedding, but we want all of their family and friends to be able to visit with each other and sit back and enjoy the wedding instead of working it for them.
Now you have a beautiful view, a beautiful backdrop. I'm sure a lot of summer weddings happen out there.
Yes, the most popular time of the year.
Tell me what happens when it rains.
So we have a couple different options as a rain backup. As you guys likely know, you cannot predict the weather in Nova Scotia, and we have as many rainy days as we do bright sunny ones. And we have two different options. Our couples are able to use a sweet seaside chapel that's just down the road from Ocean Stone, or they're able to use our great room space for their ceremony. Our team will come in and flip it from the ceremony to the dinner during cocktail hour. But I would say that most couples, they just choose to get married in the rain. And we are okay with that. If they still want to have their outdoor ceremony, we are more than willing to pass out on umbrellas and coordinate their wedding in the rain. And
that would be a memory.
it is so much fun. I always tell couples when they're booking that I cannot guarantee what the weather will be, but I can guarantee that their guests are going to have an amazing time.
Well, thank you, Roberta, for coming in and explaining to us about your beautiful resort.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
When you go to the Showcase Wedding website, you can click on the link for the Ocean Stone Seaside Resort and have your wedding rain or shine. Now in studio, I get to introduce to you Bruce Trick. He is one of the main jewelry designers for Firework Gallery. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You've brought some beautiful pieces and you're going to help us with some misconceptions for making customized pieces, right?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Give me a little background on Fireworks Gallery.
Fireworks has been around for about 40 years or so. We actually just celebrated our 40th just at the end of last year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a wonderful celebration that we had. And we sell all forms of jewelry from artists all over the world.
And a lot of people come in because you make customized pieces for the wedding day, don't you?
We do. We specialize in custom pieces, actually.
And what would be some of the misconceptions people would come to you with?
Well, people often think that having a custom piece made is too expensive. That's one major misconception. The quality is really there. It's one of the things that you really need to look at. But also, when they're having something made, it's from them and it's designed for them. It's very special and unique in that way. And this is something that you're going to be wearing for the rest of your life.
It's also the memory of creating the piece. Like you're not just going to the store and picking one out together. You've actually spent the time and the collaboration.
That's right. It's the whole process that you're going from start to finish.
And in that process, tell me a little bit about the first time they meet with you and what they should be bringing.
Sure. Yeah. I actually, if they haven't done their homework, I often send them off to peruse Pinterest. I get them to make a board and pin as many photos as they can of things that they like. Even things that they don't like are just as important.
Yeah, you said that could really give you an idea of where not to go or where to take things.
Exactly. It gives me one snapshot view of what their style is and what they like. That way I can better design for them.
So in your store, you have a lot of pieces from local artists as well from other artists around the world.
That's correct, yeah. We have actually a very good selection of jewelry pieces from local artists, and they range with gold and silver to diamonds and gemstones. They're very, very beautiful works.
And seeing pieces from all over and different artists, they definitely have a different feel, don't they?
Completely. One of my favorites are artists from Turkey. I really love the aesthetic that goes with those, with that area. And the jewelers and the work that they do is simply amazing.
Something else that you mentioned to me when we talked is that a woman should take in her wardrobe into mind when picking out a piece. Why is that?
That's because you want to be able to wear your piece as much as possible, for one. I mean, it's a beautiful piece that you've had made or you've purchased. And wardrobe is very unique to each individual. And you want to be able to wear it within anything from dressing up or dressing down to, jeans and a t-shirt. Should be very versatile.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to last you forever and you want it to match everything and feel
That's
comfortable
right.
in the piece. And I thought that was so smart. And that's something we hadn't thought about before.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you also told me that you think people should be coming into the store and trying on the pieces.
Yeah, that's right. It's much better to try something on, just like clothes in a store. You might see it on a mannequin and think, oh, that looks amazing. But once you try it on, it's, no, this isn't for me. Jewelry is very much the same way.
So by trying it on, you can see if it does fit your hand, it does fit the feel, it does.
Yeah, those types of things, and also, skin complexion, skin color, all those things come into play with the materials that you're trying on.
So being a designer, you could be more behind the scenes. Tell me about the customer service about the front of the house.
We have amazing staff with excellent customer service. We want you to come in and try things on, and they're going to help you 100%. The main thing is not to be intimidated when you come in.
Really go in and enjoy the store and
That's
talk
right.
with them. Thank you very much, Bruce, for coming in and sharing these beautiful pieces with us.
Certainly, thank you for having me.
Usually I send you to the Showcase Wedding website and click on the link for the fireworks gallery, but Bruce and I want you to go down to the store and try on the pieces instead. Who is ready for some cake? I now get to introduce you to Amy from Cake Babes, and she was actually awarded one of the prettiest cakes in 2017 from Wedding Bells magazine. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations to you. That's a big
Thank
award.
you. Yes, I was honored.
And that cake actually became a cover cake, didn't it?
Yes, it was also featured on the cover of Baker's Journal magazine last month, actually.
That's wonderful. Now give me some background on you and how you started making cakes.
So I have baked my entire life, ever since I was 5 years old. It's just always been a hobby in the background. It was never my plan to turn it into a business like this. But about 5 years ago, I made a cake for my niece's birthday, and it was the first time I played around with fondant, and I just fell in love with it. So I just kept going, and it turned into this, and I haven't looked back since.
Now that's a different art, isn't it? Fondant and icing and beautiful
Very
sugar
much,
flowers.
yes. Yeah.
What do you prefer to work with?
I definitely prefer to work with fondant, just because mostly there's so much more that you can do with it, rather than just using icing.
Now when we spoke, you told me that you started off just making children's cakes, not just for your
Correct.
niece, but for other people.
Correct.
Because you thought there was a lot of pressure on making wedding cakes. How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, so I in the beginning, I took on one wedding cake order, and I took it on, and I thought I was never going to do it again, and I got to the venue to set up the cake and everything, and I finished, and I stepped back and looked at it and just instantly fell in love with the whole process, and I knew that I had to do more, so I slowly got into it. But at first it was a lot of pressure, knowing that it was the most important day of these people's lives, and I didn't want to mess anything up or be responsible for any mistakes, and so I got over that fairly quickly, and so now it's more of pressure that I put on myself, I guess, just to make sure all the little details are perfect. And
Now tell me about that. When you display a cake, you said you don't care for bringing it in and putting it on an empty table. That's important to you.
Yes, it's very important. It's a piece of art. It's representing the couple and their wedding and their day, and it should be displayed as such. So we always want to make sure there's it's elevated on a cake stand, and that there's a display on the table. Maybe they want to have a couple flowers next to it, or a nice tablecloth, or it depends on the design of the cake as well, what's going to flow really well with it and stuff. But we just always want to make sure that there's a nice spot to put it, instead of just throwing it on an empty table with a white tablecloth.
Now, that's what you said, is that you're a designer, you're an artist, and
Yes.
that's kind of a misconception for people.
That is, yeah. So a lot of people think that they can just, find a picture on Pinterest or Google or on the internet somehow, and hand it to me and have me make that exact cake. But I try to steer people away from that as cake artists, and I don't speak for everybody, but most cake artists, we like to design our own work and put our name, our stamp, our feel on it. So we try to steer people towards getting something custom created for them each time, instead of just copying a picture.
So let's talk about that. Let's educate people on how much work actually takes place on creating a cake.
Yeah, so there's a lot of behind the scenes work that happens. From the initial point of contact, there's a lot of emailing back and forth, and I spend a lot of time working on design, and we get a rough idea of what they're looking for, and go through and do up a quote for them. Which the quote in itself takes a lot of research, depending on what they're looking for. We do a tasting, consultation, full sit down, the whole 9 yards. And from there, I work on a design for them, and that could take, there could be 2 or 3 designs that go back and forth before we decide on one. Drafting up the final contract, things like that. And that whole process in itself could be upwards of 6 hours, depending on what we're looking at. And then from there, there's the actual making of all of the cake and the
For the day
you
of
know,
and the
sweets
tasting.
for the day
yeah.
of and for the tasting, because there's a lot of work that goes into the tasting as well. I do all of my samples fresh. I don't freeze anything, so it's all baked the night before
Oh, that's
the
important
meeting
to
is
tell,
booked. And so I spend, I've spent upwards of 30 hours on some designs for cakes, and then there's the delivery and setup, and it's hours and hours of work and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens.
I think that's good for people to know too. And you said about design and setup and grand cakes. Sometimes there's a small wedding, but the bride wants a beautiful big cake. How do you accommodate her?
So we can do false tiers inside of the cake. So if they, for example, are having maybe 50 people at the wedding and they want enough, to feed those people, but they want something just big and a statement piece. So if they want, 4 or 5 tiers of cake, we can definitely accommodate that by just throwing in some false tiers, and then just a couple of it would be real that they could cut up and serve.
So they can still get what they want. That's
Yes,
beautiful. You don't have to miniaturize your designs.
Definitely.
And you said being an artist, you can take from different pictures, so it's good for them to bring in some references.
Yes, definitely. I always like to see a few, maybe they have 4 or 5 different pictures they want to show me of cakes they've seen that they like, and I can take inspiration from those, and maybe there's certain bits and pieces of different cakes that they like that we want to put together into one to create for them. But again, I try to steer them away from copying one specific picture, but
It's their day, it's their
exactly.
to
It
mesh
should
them.
represent them and not be something that somebody else has had for their wedding. So.
And not just cake, you said you do other things that you place on the table. What are those other little treats you do?
So I do all kinds of stuff. So we do cupcakes, cake pops, sugar cookies, French macaroons, chocolate-covered Oreos, and it's actually really popular these days to do like a full spread of sweets, and you would have your cake kind of on a taller stand in the middle, and then just a whole spread of items that would be decorated to match the cake, and then you have an entire display on the whole table.
And they're beautiful. They're almost too good to eat. They're just gorgeous, the little ones that you've done.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for coming in and bringing your beautiful designs.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I'm going to eat some of those chocolate-covered Oreos, and I want you to go to the Showcase Wedding website and click on the link for Cake Babes. I now have the pleasure of introducing you to Sally Wallace. She is one of the managers at the Old Orchard Inn, and she's going to tell us about some of the weddings that can be hosted at her beautiful location. Thank you very much, Sally.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you please give us a little background on how the Old Orchard came about?
Sure. I think it was envisioned in the early 1970s. Someone spied the land, saw the view, majestic view of Cape Split and Blomidon, and thought this would be the ideal location for a hotel to showcase that, so other people from all over the world could come and take a look.
And it almost has an older feel than that, doesn't it, inside?
It does. It absolutely does. It sort of was built like an old European-type castle, so the stonework and all of that lends itself very easily to that. We have kids that come in and say, "Oh my gosh, this looks like a castle," and it sort of does.
It does. And so do people use that venue for the photos, for a background, and play up on that?
They absolutely do. So we have stunning, the largest fireplace that people will take photos in front of throughout the winter time. They will take photos in the lobby because there's nothing like that kind of stonework around. We're unique in that.
So you're unique as well because you're not a hotel that's downtown. You have a lot of other special things because you're further out.
We are set in a rural setting, so we have lots of farm markets around that families, guests love to go and seek out what's new and unique in the valley. Plus we have all these amazing award-winning wineries that are close by us, so they love to partake of the wine tour that we have there, as well as go to all the individual wineries. And we have championship golf courses, not to mention Cape Split and the hike and all the other unique things that we provide, such as our beaches.
So the beaches, people can go out kayaking, they can go out hiking, they can enjoy it, really enjoy it.
We have one of the longest expansive areas for hiking, so whether you're biking or doing trail ride or what have you, they can enjoy all of that. It's natural beauty.
So some of the photos that I've seen and that you shared of us, there's a barn that's available, and that is almost Pinterest perfect. Tell me about that.
It is absolutely. We get a lot of brides or wedding couples that come in and see it as if they've always known it, because it does lend itself easily to what's on Pinterest. So we see a lot of that at our barn. We can do a very small intimate wedding there for 25 or less, all the way up to maybe 200, depending on the style that they want to have for their barn.
And have they had their ceremony in there as
They
well?
have had their ceremony, and it's in front of the double doors. That would be for bringing things in and out of a barn. So it's a traditional, unique barn. So it's something that people really like to showcase their own wedding in
And
that.
play up.
Yes.
What type of feedback have you received from people that have had their weddings there?
They love the absolute ability to, we have cabins that sort of are around the barn, so they can have their families, they can stay there, they can walk to the barn, they can walk back in between, whether it's the ceremony and then the reception, so they love the idea, the aspect of that. The same with what we have in the hotel with Orchard Hall, which is a little bit more traditional as far as a wedding, but they can go back to their guest room and they can come back to the venue when it's ready, they can take a break, they can do whatever. So they like the fact that there's a lot to do.
And yeah, and you're in a little cabin off to the side,
Yes.
and how many people can the cabins hold?
It depends on the cabin size that they get. Sometimes they can get up to 5 or 6, so a family can be easily accommodated.
So they're in their own little world, they're a little unit
Yes.
on the side there.
Yes.
That's a lot of fun. That brings a different aspect.
It totally does, and that's what they enjoy, so it seems like it's their own little area, so it's almost like they've rented that entire, the cabins and...
Little VIP experience.
Exactly.
I like that. And what else should people know that are maybe coming from away?
They should know that we do absolutely everything as far as the wedding up to the decorator. So we don't do the decorations. Your decorator would put your vision together, but we take care of all the tablecloths and all the rest of it. So you come in, you don't have to worry about chairs, tables, or anything like that. It's all set up for you, and we try to replicate the vision you have in your head as far as what you want that we put on the table and in the room. The decorator is the one tasked with creating the vision outside of that. So whether it's a backdrop like this or something, whatever
Or
is
playing
unique.
up the beautiful view that you have.
Yes. So that's what they will do. The photographers will usually come ahead and see the ones that we don't work with, and commonly we have a lot. They'll see the views that are available and where they want to set up, whether it's in the orchard for photos, or if it's off the sun deck for photos, or if it's in the barn or a unique spot in the hotel property that they want to set up for photos. So they usually scope those out a day or two before.
And like you said, you work with other vendors, so I'm sure you have a long list of people to help out.
We do. Vendors that know exactly what we have to offer and what they need to bring and how they can complement us, and we complement them. Absolutely.
So it sounds like an easy, smooth day for the bride and groom.
That's what we try. We have long-term servers that have been there for a long time that they try to walk you through every step. So we take all of that stress off the wedding couple for the day, and we just walk through every bit of it. We execute as you would want, as the wedding couple would want, but we take on that task and make sure we deliver the vision you have for your wedding without the stress.
Without the stress.
Right.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much, Sally, for coming into studio, sharing with us about your beautiful hotel and the surrounding areas.
It's been my absolute pleasure to be here, Rebecca. It was very nice to meet you and be able to showcase what we do at the Old Orchard Inn.
Thank you. So when you're ready to see some of the highest tides in the world, you can go to the Showcase Wedding website and click on the link for the Old Orchard Inn and Spa. Now in studio, I have the pleasure of speaking with David. He's one of the main designers of Amos Pewter. I want to thank you very much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me, Rebecca.
And thank you for bringing in all the pieces that you've helped design.
You're very, very welcome.
Please give us a little background on the company.
Amos Pewter is a giftware jewelry company that started over 40 years ago in Nova Scotia, down on the South Shore in a town called Mahone Bay. And started off with 2 people, and over the last 44 years has grown to a staff of around 50. And we have stores all over the Maritimes now, Prince Edward Island, various spots throughout Nova Scotia. And yeah, we just enjoy making lovely items right here in Nova Scotia.
So if people want to see these items being made, you actually have something set up in one of the jewelry shops, don't you?
We do. At our main store in Mahone Bay, we have a very extensive workshop with a lot of displays about the history of pewter and how pewter is made. And people can actually, in the workshop, watch pewter being cast, being poured from ladles into the molds, and they can see molten pewter on the counter in front of them. It's a very fascinating process, and a lot of people really enjoy that side of it.
I could see that, seeing actually how it gets made and how it's fabricated.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Now tell me about pewter. It's a soft alloy, so how is it different working with that than working with gold?
Well, gold and silver are very, very hard metals. They have a very high melting temperature, so they have a completely different process for casting, which is very labor intensive, very time intensive. So in addition to the actual expense of those metals, you've also got a lot of expense and time required to create the items. Pewter, the lovely thing about pewter is that it has a low melting point. The casting process is therefore a little bit simpler, and it has a lovely feel and a lovely luster to it that is quite unique.
And your pieces they're very organic. You said that you actually go to the beach to find some things to cast. Tell me more about that.
Well, we do. We are situated, of course, our main spot in Mahone Bay. We're situated in a lovely spot. I have a beautiful view of the bay out of my studio window. It's very enviable. And so we're inspired by that nature that we see around us. So yes, there are beaches there where we can find sand dollars, we can find mussels, we can find crabs and that sort of thing. And we actually take these items that we find on the beach, the starfish and sea urchins and so on, and we actually create molds from those, and then we actually use those in a lot of our items.
One of a kind, definitely one of a kind.
Yes.
So it's not definitely pieces that the bride and groom would use for their wedding day jewelry, but it's little trinkets that could be added to a bouquet or give you the beach theme.
Yes. And if you do have a sort of a beach theme to your wedding, obviously any of that jewelry or any of those items would be quite lovely to use too.
I
Yes.
could see anyone that was going down south, they'd want to take a little bit of Nova Scotia with them, and they could attach that.
This is definitely a way to do that, yeah.
No, so it's not just jewelry that you sell at the store, you also have homeware.
Yes, we have a lot of homeware items, things like picture frames, what we call memory boxes, small boxes. For instance, we have a lovely box that is actually a sea urchin that just opens up, which is one of our favorite items.
How unique, yeah.
Lovely picture frames, as I said, picture holders, that type of thing. And then on the tableware side, we have some beautiful things like cheese boards, again, some of them with a beach theme, which is very popular in Nova Scotia, of course. But also some very contemporary looking stuff as well that we're very proud of. So we have cheese boards, pate knives.
Salad tongs, I saw.
Exactly.
Very
yeah,
unique.
Yes, it's some very interesting stuff. The things that people really like when they come to Nova Scotia, things that are very good for entertaining as well, which a lot of people, when they're setting up a house, would be a lovely thing to have.
So what type of feedback have you received from people buying your jewelry and your pieces?
People love it. It's a very gratifying place to work because we're constantly hearing back from our customers how much they love the work that we do. We're very proud of our work, of our designs, and our workmanship. I could design beautiful things all day, every day, but unless I had the wonderful people that we have in our production facility who have such care and attention to the quality of the products, they wouldn't look nearly as good. So that's the wonderful thing about working at Ames, is that I've got these wonderful people who will carry out the designs in a really, really excellent fashion.
So last, we should definitely tell them about the lifetime guarantee because you want these pieces to last forever for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're very proud of our guarantee, and because of that quality that we put into each thing that we make, we feel very confident in offering a complete guarantee, lifetime guarantee. If you are not happy with the product, for whatever reason, return it, we'll replace it, we'll give you something else, money back. Really, no questions asked. We're very proud of that, and people count on that guarantee, and they value it.
Well, I love that it's a local product. I love the pieces that you've brought in for me today to wear. It's very organic, very beautiful. Thank you so much for coming in studio.
It was a real pleasure.
When you're ready to go to the Showcase Wedding website, you can click on the link for Amos Pewter and put a little beach theme in your wedding. Thank you for watching this episode of Showcase Wedding. I'm your host, Rebecca Martel. We want to send a big thank you out to One Day Affair Wedding Decor Design and McFarlane Events for setting up our studio here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. To all of the newly engaged brides and grooms, we want to wish you felicitations, congratulations, mazel tov.